Morning, daily huddlers. Today is Wednesday, and it is the day that we talk about everything communication and relationships. But first, I'm going to kick us off with a smile. Today, we're talking about BS. So I thought rather than telling a joke, I would share a funny little quote from someone who might be the master of BS. If you've ever seen the show Will and Grace, one of my favorite sitcoms of all time, there's a character on there, and her name's Karen. And she said this to Will, who played a lawyer on the show. She said, "Honey, tact is for people who aren't witty enough to be sarcastic." I thought that was just fantastic. Let's roll the tape and forgive my voice.
That's perfect. Probably really true.
Tact could be a form of BS, and so could sarcasm. I was raised on both.
Makes a lot of sense.
Good morning, Daily Huddle. I'm going to talk softly to save my voice. I hope y'all can hear me okay. Welcome to Wednesday, where we dive into communication and relationships, because we know that more effective communication builds better relationships, and better relationships builds better friendships, better families, better communities, and better business. So I'm excited to dive into our topic today, which is how do you cut through the BS, which is the opposite of effective communication. So before we do that, let's have some authentic questions to the folks who are showing up with us today. And I think I would love to start off the morning with our dear friend, Sorrel. Sorrel, please tell me this morning, where are you and how are you?
Tara, I'm looking. Oh my God, I am right here. And I am how I say I am. I'm grateful. Grateful for rain.
Oh,
specifically.
Mm.
that's wonderful to hear. I need to remind myself to be grateful for rain. We have Michelle with us, and she better come back on that camera. Yes, we use cameras. We just have shy people today. So I want to ask you, my dear, tell me what time it is and what you're grateful for.
Oh, it's now, the only time we have. The time is right now. And I'm grateful for wonderful people like y'all to help me get my day started on the right foot.
Oh, I love hearing that. We are grateful to see you here with your beautiful smile and spirit. Kathryn, I'm going to take it to you with my last question. Tell me who you're going to hug today.
I'm going to hug two rambunctious, beautiful, amazing, precious little boys.
Oh, I wish I was there to do the same. Soon, though, soon. Let's talk a little bit about the genesis of our question today. I mean, we came up with it so quickly. Let's dive into how do we cut through the BS, and what do we mean by that, Kathryn?
Yeah, it's well, it's a great question. It stemmed from a conversation that we had. I'm going to blame this on my Southern roots because I think that's where it comes from. But I was raised in to talk around things, and the more difficult the conversation, the more words I put around the actual thing that I wanted to say or needed to say. So it's sort of like the compliment sandwich. You say something nice, then you get the news, and then you say something really nice afterwards. And I just noticed that I was doing more and more of that I was not what we call bottom lining and talking around things a lot. And it's really exhausting, contrasted by, and this could be part of why it started to come up to me, is our relationship, yours and mine, Tara. I do none of that. Neither of us do. I mean, we just cut straight to the chase. And so it reminded me of a time when I was in a professional setting, and it was a newer setting, and I got my feelings hurt. Totally got my feelings hurt. In business, I know. And what I wanted to do was run away and forget it happened and know that it would eventually pass, And what happened was an old wound of mine from childhood got triggered, got kicked up. And it was of not being seen, of being overlooked, not valued, not worth enough for us to consider this. And I knew intellectually it wasn't real, like it wasn't really what happened. And that's still how I felt. And I made the difficult decision. I knew that, like I said, I knew it would pass, but I made the difficult decision to go to the people that this happened with and have a conversation about it. And because I knew it was the faster way to put me back in right relationship with them, which is where I wanted to be. And also I wanted to be free of this. It was living in my brain. It was taking up too much brain space, as that's what happens when things like this come up and I don't say anything. And so in a professional setting, I got vulnerable and said that hurt my feelings. And I know it's my stuff. I know where it comes from, and it hurt my feelings. And I have to say that so that, because I want to move forward. And, it's a beautiful thing. Only good things came from it. I felt so much better. I really didn't think about it again, which was my real goal, is just to free myself from the confines of this nagging narrative in my head.
As scary as that was, what was the reaction?
I mean, nothing but love. Nothing but warm, welcoming love and appreciation, like gratitude that I had stepped forward and said something versus just put, and then I think it brought us closer because they could be into
all
me.
The things we care about.
Right. And I think the reason it's coming up now is because I felt, like I've said it before, like I said, I felt freer. When you and I started talking about this conversation, it was, I just want to be me. Why am I spending so much time, energy, and effort trying to say the right thing or show up the right way or be the right way in a certain situation for the right people? It's like, can't we just be ourselves? And if that's the case, and I have something to say, how do I cut through the BS and be kind? Sometimes, I think cutting through the BS is kind. I think it's very unkind when you give a whole bunch of words, you make it really confusing. People have to work to hear what you're really trying to say versus saying, here's the truth. I don't like that, or that didn't sit well with me.
So as I listened to this, I wanted to go a little bit deeper into this one aspect of what could be termed BS, because there's so many experiences with it. But I want to ask you this: why does it matter? Why does it matter that we don't communicate on kind of just that less than authentic level?
Well, maybe for some it doesn't, because it really comes down to who we are and how we want to be.
Okay.
And if some people, I can't talk about that because I don't really believe that. I think that there's a level of inauthenticity there. So for me, it creates a safe space. And there's no baggage. There's nothing that I care when I'm being direct and honest. There's nothing I carry from one conversation to the other that I have to then tend to either remember. Certainly if I'm not being honest, I got to remember, what did I say and how do I keep up with it? That's, that's why lying is just way too much effort. But if there's baggage and I'm not addressing it, it's going to show up in the next conversation, and so for me, it matters for the freedom.
I love that. I just want to write that down. For the freedom to just be you, right?
Yeah. And to know, you told me early in our relationship, you said, please tell me if you don't agree with what I just said, whatever it was, because I know you can't hurt my feelings because I know my intentions. And that has stuck with me like glue, because I'm like, oh, right. Even if their feelings were hurt, I know I didn't mean to do that or come from there. So we can just get in the right space about it. But if so that to me is like, oh, if I'm just know my intentions, I can walk through the world much lighter, be who I am, say what I need to. But it's a lot of work for me to do that because I've got so much history and so much practice and so much experience hiding all of that. Pretty as pretty does. You show up in a good mood all the time, and you put on a pretty face, and you look good, and you do good, and you and then you go home and you crash.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's why these conversations are important and really useful, because it's like, oh, right, how do I do it? It doesn't come naturally to me. I think it comes much more naturally to you.
Really?
Yeah.
Be authentic?
Say what you really mean. Now, you might like be jokey and sarcastic about it, going back to your quote, but I don't think you walk around and harbor a bunch of stuff. And no, I feel like you are super direct. You'll call me up and be like, what's going on with you? You seem down. What's going on with you? That message you sent me was a little funky. Everything okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, totally true. But I guess what surprises me about you saying that is, I feel like you're the same, but maybe that's reserved for just the people that you truly, truly feel safe with. Could that be true?
Interesting. Yeah, I do think that yes, I do think it is different with different people. If I've gotten, wind that this doesn't feel like a safe space. And it's a great point, right? Because we talked about this before, like what gives us the ability to do that back and forth? And it's trust and respect.
Mm-hmm.
And we have built up so much trust and respect that even I know if it goes sideways, we can get right back. But with someone that I don't have that with,
Yes.
I don't have that trust with, I don't trust that they mean what they say. No, you can tell me anything. It's confidential. Can't tell you how many times I've heard that. And I'm like, my alarms are going off, like I so want that to be true, but I know that it's not. Or, a better one is, please tell me what you're feeling, and I promise not to take it personally. Yeah, a couple of people in my life, I'm like, oh, that is so not going to work out that way. I just know it, It's like, and that's okay. It's okay, because it's really my choice at that point to decide how and what to share and what really feels productive and conducive. I'm not harboring anything, but I think I was reading the comments. Someone wrote something about a bull in a china shop.
I think that was Michelle.
Yes, that was Michelle. Okay. Yes. And so that is part of it. Like that's one of my struggles, because working so hard to conceal everything, sometimes I'll go to the opposite extreme. I'm going to tell you everything and just how I feel right now. And that's not what I'm saying, because then I do I'm doing damage. I'm doing harm. It's like, so then it gets a little bit more complex. Like, how do we cut through the BS, be ourselves, and keep moving?
So here's where I'm kind of navigating what you're talking about, and I'm coming up with two different components to this conversation. So help us to understand this. What's the difference between inauthenticity or BS and surface conversation? Because they're really not the same.
They aren't. You can be authentic in a surface conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not going to go deep with everybody. We've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they are really different. A surface conversation is a conversation where you're sort of just up here, you're talking about things that aren't super true to your core, and I'm being authentic. Being inauthentic in those conversations is when I'm a mess and saying, no, I'm great, everything's fine. What do you mean? Mm-hmm. And then I think just, genuine or general inauthenticity is when we're just not being true to who we are.
Right. All right. So let's lean into the one that we're specifically talking about, and we'll save small talk for another day. But let's lean into being authentic. Mm-hmm. And I've been challenged with this before, so I have my take on it. But I was speaking one time, as a matter of fact, I think you were there one time when I was challenged on it. I was talking about being able to take grief and pain or trauma and really recycle it and use the energy of it for good, for love. And what is the difference between that and toxic positivity? Mm-hmm. And at first I was offended. And then the more I thought about the question, the more I loved it, because it is so very different. So how do we remain positive if it's necessary and not be a bullshitter, in your opinion?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think it depends on the context. Obviously, the situation you're in, is it appropriate? What's appropriate? What's not, and being authentic doesn't mean sharing everything. I misunderstood that early on when I started this journey of self-development. I thought it meant that you had to just bare your soul and tell every single thing. And that gets really uncomfortable for people when it's not in the appropriate, right? There's appropriate times for that. And I think naming it is a really great place to start, because if we walk into a room and I'm supposed to be upbeat in the front of the room, keep the energy high, and I'm feeling terrible for some reason, maybe I'm sick or something, I think naming it, as much as I would like to be the bubbliest person in the room and rah, rah, y'all from here to kingdom come, I don't feel well today. So you're going to hear a lower version of myself, a less excited, a less enthusiastic version. People can then, they start to connect, and they can feel when you're real and when you're not. I think that's what we all make up, that we've got people snowed, and we really don't. Maybe consciously people aren't noticed, but they feel it. And so it's subconsciously, it's all happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think just naming it and saying what's there, that's not being not positive. You know what I mean? I think not being positive is when you're like, today sucks. I hate this. Can't believe I'm here and have to do that. Blah, blah, blah. No, you just go, I'm not on the top of my game today. Still here, going to do the thing.
Yeah. So I want to go back to the conversation around oversharing, and that it makes some people uncomfortable. And I think that's where we're probably different. And I maybe am a little bit more like Michelle. Like, I don't know if I tend to overshare, as I definitely tend to be blunt or to go deep in a setting where it's maybe not appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you navigate when is the appropriate time to get real and to be vulnerable versus just remaining authentic?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think that's all about reading the room. It's, you know what I mean? I mean, it's really noticing where am I? And also I want to stop there and say one thing, like, we are going to fail at all of this.
Right. Thank you. That gives me, like, talk about freedom. That's just so freeing to say, because I not to cut off your thought, but I'm just thinking, well, we're just all out there. What is, I forgot who the quote is, but I think you first introduced it to me. We're just all out there walking each other home.
That's right. Ram Dass.
We
are all just walking each other home.
But our intentions are in the right place, right?
Yeah. Well, sometimes not, that's true too. But yeah, we hope so. But that we are going to fail. I'm going to be a bull in a china shop. I'm going to say the wrong thing at the wrong time. And then it's, how do we recover? And so it's like, if we can just use it as practice or fun or trial and error, to your point, it just is a lot freer. If my goal is to be the most authentic me that I can be, and then to watch what happens, I think that's where I'll try something different and say, I'm feeling off today. I'm going to do it this way, and just cut straight in and say this. How's that landing? If the room goes totally silent, okay, that didn't work very well. Great. Or maybe they're pensive. I don't know. But, it's like, and then it's go, okay, that didn't land very well. So let's start over. Like, how do we just not beat ourselves up? We're just human. There's a country song out right now that says something like, I'm still learning to be human. Forgive me, because I'm still learning to be human. And I feel like we're all expected to know how to do this and do it perfectly. Whatever it is, just be in relationship with each other. But it is messy. We're humans, which means we all come from a different context with different experiences, different life experiences. So there's no way to tell what's going to show up in a room in any given moment on any given day, because we are different in every single moment based on what's happening right now, what's just happened, how we feel, and just to give ourselves and those around us grace for that, and hold each other with love.
You just really inspired me to be forgiving of something that was said to me years ago. It offended me like I cannot even begin to tell you. And so I'm going to start with saying that you said sometimes when we overshare, it makes people uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember somebody saying to me one time, I was saying, well, I don't want to make people uncomfortable. And she said, well, it's not your job to make people comfortable. Sometimes maybe I do. I want to invite people to be in a comfortable place. And if we overshare too soon, too early, not in the right setting, it causes discomfort. And that's not what we want. But I was in a situation, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago. I don't really remember. And I was around women who knew my story. I'd known these women for a long time. And we got together, I don't know, just whatever, cocktails and appetizers or something. And how are you? How's the kids? Blah, 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 blah. And one of the women in that room, I've always took as like a surface talker, but she knew my story and she knew I had a son who was incarcerated. And when she got around to, how are you, Tara? Do you know what she said to me? How are your girls?
Oh, you told me that. Yeah.
Freaking broke my heart. And all these years, whenever I think of her, when I see her on social media, that's all I can remember is, how are your girls? And I think I took it all these years as, I don't want to acknowledge your son.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm thinking, maybe she thought that was a kind way of not forcing me to go there. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn it, Kathryn. I'm gonna have to sign off now and give this some thought.
Would you leave me here?
But that felt like BS to me. Like, just like, how are your girls? My gosh, I have 3 children and one of them not doing so well at the moment.
Probably needs the question more than the others.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I think it's a great, it can take a lot to do that, to really step out and give everyone the same grace that we would give someone like my children. I give all the time tons of grace. I love them. They're dear to me, right? But then somebody else comes along and I'm like, you shouldn't have said that. That hurt me. You didn't, you know what I mean? But they're coming from their own place. And even if it's not from a good intention, like hurt people.
Yep. Isn't that the truth?
Right? So they're coming from somewhere too. They've had experiences, and it doesn't mean that we have to take it. It doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries, but yes, compassion. Exactly, Florence. It's like just understanding that everybody came from somewhere. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I can give myself the same grace.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I'm not perfect. None of us are. So I mess up all the time.
I think, share the little bit that I can add to this conversation. And I want to hear what other people, what is this inspiring them to think about? But I think at the end of the day, for me, authenticity starts with a spirit of generosity. And what I mean by that is, if I'm worried I hurt someone's feelings, or I'm worried I shouldn't talk about something, like especially people who are in grief, you don't know if they want to talk about it, if they need a distraction, you just don't know. And the safest, most loving thing that I've learned to do is just flipping ask, or to be strong enough to say, I feel insecure about this. I'm worried I'm going to hurt you. So for me, it's kind of the flip side of your story, is rather than dangerously navigating something or being very BS-y about it, is just to have the courage to open your heart and say, I'm uncomfortable. I need you to help me with this. So that's my tip on how to navigate BS. What are you feeling, Michelle? I see you bobbing your head. Or anybody else that has a comment, question,
Yeah,
thought?
I'm very much this is a wonderful conversation. I had 4 children, and people say, so, da, 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 tell me about yourself. And I'll say, I had 4 children because I don't have 4 children anymore. And so tell me about your children, and I'll describe the 2 that are still living. And some people will go there and say, I thought you had 4 children. What about the other 2? And I'll say, they're dead.
That'd be
I'm
me.
not real good at, well, they passed away, or, oh, they're no longer with us. I'm not good at that. That's inauthentic to me.
Mm-hmm.
But me being me, a lot of people find very offensive.
Hmm.
So
Do you think they're
how do I
offended, or do you think they're uncomfortable? I have a friend who said to me one time, she's a really close friend, and she said, when your son dies, you lose friends. And I thought, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but these are people that I'm just meeting or passing conversations with strangers. And it's very hard for me to soft pedal it
Hmm.
because I'm not that way. But I know that's the polite thing to do. If I pause and think about my response, then I'll try to be kind to them, if you will. Because, just saying they're dead leaves a lot of people with, oh, and
Yeah.
then the conversation is kind of dead
Yeah.
after that. They don't know what to say. I don't know.
Is the kind peddling tiring for you?
It can be. Yeah. Because it's not me.
Same. Totally the
Hard
same.
work.
It is.
I write out an email and I'm direct, I'm to the point, and I read it back again. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to say, hi, hope you're having a nice day, da, 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 da. I'm very direct, bullet point, boom, boom, boom. This is the information I need, or this is the information I need you to have. And so then I have to go back and fluff it. And it's not that I don't mean those sentiments. I do mean, I hope you're having a nice day. It's just I have to prompt myself to remember to say those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I have several thoughts about that. It's interesting. It's like, this is the society we live in, And so it's like, do we navigate it this way? How do we? And I get that. And then, part of me also says, okay, well, those aren't your people. Conversation ended, move on, let's go. But, and then it's like,
freedom.
Yeah. And it doesn't always work that way, so it's like, it's just, and that, I guess that's part of it too, is like, how do you navigate, or how do you just throw it along? This makes a lot of people uncomfortable when I say it, but they're dead, does that soften it just enough, but still feel authentic? It is really a dance for what feels right for us. And we're social beings. And if you barreled through and did not care and didn't add the niceties and didn't read and just left it all as is, you're not really engaging in society. You're not really looking around and saying, oh, how's that landing? And, oh, I wonder, so I can see both sides, and I really give value to that, because that makes you're in connection, because you're noticing and then you're adjusting, and,
Yeah.
It's really hard. Yeah.
Learning. We're all just walking each other home, as you say.
Yeah. Learning to be human.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate, give yourself grace when you get it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can keep getting the same thing wrong and give yourself grace too, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. Tom has his hand up. Tom.
All right. Good morning, Tara. Good morning, Kathryn.
Good morning.
I wanted to explore a little bit more the shifting from, for someone who doesn't typically just cut to the chase. You all have said some helpful things about, just try it, give yourself some grace. But on the other hand, then there is, trying to just have a sense of the room. But I think there's a natural reluctance if you just don't normally cut to the chase, just to nudge yourself forward to begin trying it. Otherwise, you'll be just kind of stuck in this paralysis of trying to overthink, where you are and how to act.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. It's giving yourself permission to take a risk, and giving yourself permission to fail, and giving yourself permission to succeed wildly,
I have to say, Tom, I really go back to what I said earlier, is if you're uncomfortable with something, people sense that.
Yeah.
And it makes the situation worse. So if you're like, wow, I really want to lean into being more authentic and saying what I really think, but I'm worried about how it's going to come over, the very best thing in my experience is, and obviously in your own words, to say, this makes me feel uncomfortable, awkward, nervous, whatever the word may be. Once we name that, people show up with compassion. It like totally puts people's defenses down. But if we show up and people can perceive that we're nervous and uncomfortable, then they're going to mirror that. And it just makes for awkwardness. But if we show up and share the fact that we're a little bit uncomfortable, it completely can change the dynamic of a conversation.
Agree.
Yeah, that's good. And I think as I'm hearing you recap and say this again, there's a positive aspect that, then if you can tap into that, it can be very reinforcing as to, hey, I feel lighter. I'm getting, a lot of instances, positive feedback from other people. So yeah, that's good. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Cool. Good morning, Rashida. Looks like you got something on your mind. You're looking beautiful.
Good morning, everyone. I'm telling you, every morning, every Wednesday morning when I get on the daily hurdle, I was like, what is these two young ladies them have prepared for us? I was like, wait a minute. But I just love the topic. And why I say I love the topic, I love every topic you are bringing every Wednesday morning. Trust me, I learn so much from it. And it just and full of just good vibration. And one of the things that I take away this morning from you guys is that, oh my goodness, I just love tell the truth. Some of my friends them say, Rashida, you don't think when you're talking to us, don't they? I say, why? Because I'm telling you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth today, tomorrow, until the day they put me 6 feet underground. Trust me. And one of the things that it reminded me this morning is that I have 3 girls and 1 boy, but we have a chat room in the family, not it? They say, don't put that there because your mom going to answer and she's going to tell you the truth. She's going to read your right. So definitely, I am saying, my mouth is just full of truth because I don't want to remember what did I tell you the last time. I'm going to tell you today because I'm going to remember it the rest of my life. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you very much. I love it.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much for
Rashida.
sharing that, Rashida.
I love that. Yeah, and Cece, I see Cece has something to say too.
Good morning. Thank you so much for this topic because many times I avoid getting up to share because I am feeling awkward or uncomfortable and I did not know how to share that or be authentic about that so that I can move forward and get past those feelings. I just would avoid them. So thank you so much for bringing this up because this gives me some more courage so that the next time I show up, I'm not explaining, but sharing, being honest and truthful about what I'm experiencing because people can see it anyway. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Cece. It's beautiful. All right. Well, here we are at the end. This has been an awesome conversation. It helps me too, to just really find my words in the conversation and then the freedom that comes with that, because I think I just want to live more authentically. It's really my only goal. So thank you for being part of the conversation, for being here. And thank you, Tara, as always. And I'm going to close us out with our 7 tenets and start with love. And we'll start with love thyself, give yourself compassion and grace, and share that love with others. Laugh out loud. Don't forget, tell yourself some jokes. Get your sleep, get your 7 hours, eat more plants. And what else, Tara? We got to move that body and give of all of your gifts. Give your time, your spirit, your good energy. Just share that love around. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
See you next time on the Daily Huddle. Thank you all so much. One love, Rashida.
Thank you.
Thank you.
y'all.
Tara.
Excellent job,
One love,
everyone.
guys. One love.
Bye.
Thank you.